Here we all are, a global dysfunctional family born without a conscious choice or a user manual, whirling on a tiny spit of homeland called Earth in the middle of a larger homeland called Cosmos, in the middle of our nation states, in the middle of our cultures and families and emotional states, in the middle of our lives. And we're hidden behind all kinds of masks, all of which mask our true identity that's become so diluted, nay, polluted with fascinating but also destructive distractions that have disconnected us from nature and human nature, from self and other. Its birthplace is fear. Fear that we aren't ultimately worthwhile or lovable simply as is. What a complicated masquerade party this species called humanity. And none of us asked to be invited to this masquerade party. You know, the wisdom of the ancients professes that we are one. Books are written about it, songs are sung about it, films depict it, and conferences discuss it, and yes, online events promote it. But short of COVID-19, I don't believe that we've ever truly experienced it. And we can do better than time-worn, man-made, or natural catastrophe. We can try to move the dial born of consciously designed creativity. But first, maybe we need to revisit this notion of one, because it's tripped up many a well-intended individual and nation based on a misconception and a fearful misperception about losing one's unique identity to the whole, of being almost swallowed whole. And that fear-based misunderstanding creates a gaping hole in our global soul. Ultimately, everything is connected. It's energy. Metaphorically, we're each necessary ingredients which flavor that overall delicious meal. We're each a different meal on that overall menu of life. We're each vital and distinct notes and chords comprising that overall melody, the one which harmonizes the current cacophony into a natural symphony, a rock concert or ballad or an opera or rap or whatever is one's musical pleasure. Whatever the metaphor, the meta message is clear. All for one or none for all. That's the mind-bending missive behind this massive COVID wake-up call. And one doesn't mean monotone. Think about the last three letters of that word, O-N-E, monotone. It doesn't mean we all disappear and blend into a blob. It means respectfully owning one's uniqueness amongst many others as part of the whole. It's kind of like a gorgeous fireworks. You know, you don't focus just on one spark over there. It's the ensemble. It's the interplay of colors, bursts of different colors and different intensities and brightnesses working together to create this spark, this spectacular show. Or a more natural metaphor might be a swarm of fireflies in the summertime night sky. You know, you see one little flicker over here, and then another lights up over there, and then soon you see hundreds, maybe thousands of these luminescent creatures working in a kind of wave through the night sky. And so, in a sense, this is the North Star guiding us toward our divine spark. You know, the cosmos is no more some deep space out there than a tree is some noun over there. They and everything are aspects of who and what we are. And connecting to our source doesn't negate healthy competition, nor does it magically solve the world's problems that are absolutely overflowing with inequities and imbalances. Yes, there are borders and boundaries and distinctions that separate us, and some are necessary. But this notion of duality, this friction about individual versus global identity, has incited a kind of duality, a global identity crisis about the right to inhabit one's identity within this cosmic tragicomic chaos that no other species wars over. No other species. No one is asking anyone to forfeit their individuality by encouraging, igniting the divine spark within, but from leaders of nations and corporations right on down to the root system that feeds them, us, seeding that inspirational source amongst individuals who then birth families, who then grow communities into societies amongst billions of species. This is what will reroute us from a co-word called COVID to a more user-friendly co-world, which works with the premise of coexistence, collaboration, cooperation. I can think of many more too. The whole of humanity hinges on leadership come healership to steer the rudder of this sinking worldwide citizenship and help it heal, help it sink a little better, love a little gentler, communicate a little more tender. By turning the compass inward and considering what the Fuji Declaration is an expression of, perhaps we pivot from a tired, untenable storyline to what they call a new paradigm based on a little bit more harmony. Because honestly, the now transparent fragility of our worldwide community begs for the utmost respect and TLC to avert Act 3 finale. You know, we're all speaking to whomever is watching or listening to this, whoever is fortunate enough to have access to a computer to be able to. And actually, if in truth we're all one and everything is connected, then even not watching or hearing this, it's being felt. It's permeating the ether and somewhere out there in ways that we might not know here. It is being felt. Yes, we're all speaking to you today, making it perhaps sound fluid, so easy to do. And maybe for some people it is, yet for many, for most, this idea of going inward is new terrain, and it needs learning and repetition over time. You know, it's like a muscle. You know how muscles recontract back into their habitual position, and we need to stay limber. We need to stay vigilant. We need to work this emotional, sort of spiritual musculature so that we don't collapse back into this, I guess, instinct, this reflex, not instinct, but this reflex that has become so ingrained, so part of us. And in fact, well, I hope very much that even in the next year or 3 years out, when we get the gist of this new rhythm, you know, this new dance, that we don't step on each other's toes quite so much, and that we don't forget this very pivotal moment and sort of fall back into a comatose autopilot clip that we're so prone to falling into throughout history. Let this not be another blip on the radar of history. Let's tread gently. We're all learning. We're all learning. And we all need inspiration, not just when the going gets tough, but ongoing. I want to say thank you to these source of wonders, the Sayanjis and Goya Peace Foundation, and to Professor Irvin Laszlo and the Club of Budapest. And to you, dear sources of wonder who are listening and watching and intuiting. Seed your source by loving someone or something, even if it's just a taste of a potato chip or a little bit of water on your palate or a passing thought or brush of the wind or a little insect or flower, whatever inspires you to have a momentary sensation of love. And then practice that momentary flicker of a second of love of anything or any being. Think of us like tender fawns in the forest after a big storm, and the fawns come out and they peer and they look around to see, is it safe to come out? Is it safe to explore? And in a sense, we are that fawn, but that inner dwelling is also the fawn, the quiet voice that's waiting and always present for us to reacquaint ourselves, or to just acquaint ourselves, because we've never really connected, we've never really met at this very tender, very sensitive precipice with multiple crises escalating like a kind of birth on earth, the birth contractions of which are intensifying. Perhaps we want to revisit those age-old questions that we have all pondered at some point in our perplexing lives. Who on earth are we? Why in heaven are we here? And who or what do we want to become?